I know you guys love a good banana bread recipe, right? Today's recipe is taking banana bread and making it kind of spectacular. And it comes with the addition of a pecan streusel, which obviously is going to make it even more delicious. I'm chopping half a cup of pecans for the streusel portion of this recipe. It's kind of like a mix between your classic banana bread and your favorite coffee cake. So chop those up, and then in a small bowl you can whisk together 3/4 of a cup of all-purpose flour, 1/3 of a cup of light brown sugar. Obviously, if you want to, you can use dark brown. Stir. A teaspoon of ground cinnamon and 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt. Get that nicely combined before you add the final ingredient for the streusel, which is 6 tablespoons of unsalted room temperature butter. So then just work or stir the butter into the streusel. I probably shouldn't have used my fingers because now they're going to be coated in butter. That was a mistake. Oops. It's okay. And the pecans. See? Making mess. Here they have this thing called a sink where you can wash your hands. I'm so funny. You want to have some bigger and some smaller clumps, but you are going to add a layer of this inside your banana bread, like half the batter, half the streusel, so you don't want it to be too clumpy. All right, I do have to go wash my hands. Now for the bananas. I have 3 bananas that need to be mashed. They should be nice and ripe. You want to mash up your bananas and make sure that it's really well mashed. If you have lumps in your banana mixture, then you're going to have lumps of banana in your banana bread, and that might be okay for you, but I like to have a little more even distribution of my banana in my bread, so I'm going to mash it. I started with a potato masher, but I might actually go in there with a fork to get it finer. One of the ways that you can get your ripe bananas to be super duper soft is once they're ripe, put them into the freezer, and then when you take them out, they turn to mush, but they don't continue ripening, so they're not going to taste fermented, which can happen if you let your bananas sit out for too long. Great. That's your banana. Here I have a cup of sugar. To that, add 2 large eggs. I like to whisk that in before I start adding any other ingredients. For the remaining wet ingredients, I have 1 stick of unsalted butter that's melted and 1/3 of a cup of buttermilk. Whisk. And a teaspoon of pure vanilla extract. And then the mashed banana also goes into the wet ingredients. For the dry ingredients, it's pretty simple. 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, 1/4 teaspoon of kosher salt. Use less if you're using fine, and 3/4 of a teaspoon of baking soda. Be sure to whisk this really, really well so everything is fully combined. Particularly that baking soda needs to be distributed through the flour really well, or else you will get pockets of air in your cake and you'll be like, why are there holes in my cake? That's probably why. And now you can whisk the wet ingredients into the dry ingredients. Make sure that your oven is preheated to 350 degrees because, as I've said before, and I'll say it again, these quick breads come together so quickly that if you're not preheating it when you walk into the kitchen, your batter might be ready before your oven is preheated. This is a 9 by 5 inch loaf pan. It's been buttered and lined with parchment paper. Add half of your batter to that pan. You don't have to measure, just be approximate. Then you add half the streusel. So it will sink a little bit, so even if you're a little bit more generous in terms of adding a little bit more than half, don't worry. The streusel does tend to sink a little because it's pretty heavy. And then the remainder of the batter. and then the remainder of the streusel. I'm so hungry right now, I just want to eat this, but don't eat it yet. It's not delicious until it's baked. It's not like chocolate cake batter, which is really delicious raw. I don't think banana bread batter is all that great raw, but bake it up and it is irresistible. So this needs to bake for about an hour and 20 minutes. So if you find that it's getting a little bit dark on top, you're just going to want to tent it with foil so that the streusel on top does not get overly brown before the cake is baked. You're going to want to let this cool in the pan for a few minutes before removing it to a wire rack, and then let it cool completely before serving it. And I think that a serrated knife is a good idea just to make sure that you don't damage the crumble, because the little serrations will cut straight through the crumble really nicely. And this is a fragrant and amazing golden, delicious, I guess I'd call it a hybrid of a coffee cake and a banana bread. That crispy topping really takes the cake. Give this recipe a try. If you like recipes like this and you want more, make sure to click like and subscribe, because we have plenty more where this came from.